Welcome back to Sun and Fun 2026 or hashtag SNF26. Here this year we have a kind of like an island patriotic vibe, which is pretty cool. Hashtag SNF26, like I said before. This airplane in the front here, you can tell that the sun is just about to raise up. And this plane it seemed to be like the theme plane of 26. Kind of has this amphibious island skipping vibe to it. Pretty cool. Pretty classic airplane. You can tell that the sun is just coming up. And here we have a woody type of airplane coming. I'm wondering where they put the surfboards, on top or on bottom. I saw this scheme on the side of this aircraft and I was like, I did not know we could do this with aircraft. That is quite cool. Kind of has the 1950s, 60s vibe going on with it. Pretty cool colors. You'll see as the sun starts to go up, we see these escort vehicles, golf carts, off-road vehicles, motorcycles escorting these planes that want to take off and get out of here. I don't think this is an air show vehicle. I think they're just pulling out to take off. People came and went all throughout the day. And just to keep things safe, they had these escort vehicles helping them along the way. A lot of coordination to make sure no one got hurt, injured, or even worse. And here we have the campsite where people would actually camp right next to airplanes. So this is called a fly-in, where people fly from all different directions and they just set up camp and live in their tent for the remainder of the event. I don't know too many people that slept inside the plane. That would probably be very cold, but what can you do? Here we see just the sunrise is taking upon us. The balloons are getting up there. Here we have the Echo helicopter. The Apache, pretty cool. A lot of technology on that helicopter right there. You see the machine gun on the bottom, the rocket pods, all kinds of things. Very complex. We have the P-51 fighter plane, red tail, classic from the Tuskegee era during World War II. Really cool piece right here to see. And some people have left their chairs there for some reason. I don't know if that's from last night or for the future. Here we have the Stearman airplane, which I've spelled terribly before, so forgive me for that. But different renditions and paint schemes of the Stearman. Here we have the Hopper Harrier airplane, which can do the vertical takeoff. An early fleet here, it looks like. And there's not just one, not just three, but more than one Harrier right there. Still keeping the tradition alive, which is pretty cool. I don't know where they're from. But we have looks like a C-47 right here. A typical paint scheme that you would have seen back in the 1940s, which is still cool. We have the pinup young lady on the side there. Pins and flags are still there, but before you fly, you definitely want to take those off. Another DC-3 or C-47 behind, sorry. P-51. I think this is a red tail that we saw before. Absolute amazing historic pieces here. And I believe a lot of these are still airworthy. I think they flew them in here, which is outstanding. Here, of course, with the airplanes, we have the ice cream trucks, different renditions from different periods in history. That just looks like a delicious ride to get on and get some ice cream. I guess they would have delivered this or maybe had a food truck back in the day. I don't know how popular food trucks were back in the day, but here we have a super polished F-14 Tomcat. I didn't know they polished them like that, but maybe that's how you get the super fast speed. I want to say this is a military piece. Not a military piece, but a museum piece. I don't know why the visor was so dark. It looks like they would have just carted this in. Here we have the ultra famous F-14 Tomcat again, and then this absolutely outstanding Beluga airplane right here. This is an airplane that was used to put other airplanes inside of it. It's that huge. And here we still have the stragglers from the balloons coming up. And of course, this aircraft right here getting ready to take off. You can tell with the stripes, there's a runway right here filled with all kinds of warbirds and jets. So that runway is closed. So the airplanes, the active ones, have to go to a different runway. Of course, we have the B-25 right here. Famous in the Doolittle raids. Famous airplane right here. And it's aluminum color. I hear This is very hard to keep up. As for the corrosion and other things that can get on the aircraft, it does save weight though. Here we have the famous Black Hawk helicopter. This one appears to be some sort of desert dark green though. It's amazing they just have these helicopters just chilling out here. Just hanging out and about. I love this ring of cones they have. That's going to protect everyone from... Here we have this Cessna C337, I believe. Then we have a MASH style helicopter behind it with the is it the Baby Bird? And another Black Hawk back there. I just want to call it a White Hawk because it definitely has a white color scheme. We have the Harrier Hop jets right here. I'm absolutely impressed that these things are still flying and there's still like a fleet of them. I'm like, where are these guys from? Is this Canada? Is this the US? Not sure. I wish I could have seen closer. Got the Marine helicopter from back in the Vietnam era. Here's a White Hawk I was talking about. Pretty cool color scheme right there. I'm not sure if this guy's a YouTuber that owns this or what. I'm pretty sure I've seen this helicopter before on the interwebs. Not sure who flies it though. Pretty cool view right there. A little stabilizer action. Of course, we got the C-47 again. The Stearmans. The 150. P-150. And some other warbirds right behind it. Absolute beasts. C-47 from the rear here. Alright. Oh, we got some quick moves. Quick moves here. Boom, boom. They were actually giving rides. So you could actually pay various sums of money. I think for the blue one that you saw, it was about $500. And I think for a ride in the B-25 was about $2,500. Something ridiculous. The prices went all the way up. If you had the money, you could spend it if you had it. The Twin Otter from Z Hills, P-51. We got the Beech something. We got the C3. Oh, they're too quick. Too quick. Oh, the Baby Bird right there. Got the F-16 right there. F-22. We got the Ford GT was Roadster. A-10. P-51. Got the Beluga. Look how huge that is in the inside. Absolutely outstanding. The F-14 Tomcat again. This is in the afternoon, it seems like. Got the Stearman, the F-14, DC-3, Caravan, Cirrus, Cessna, and Beluga again. Okay, helicopter. Pretty cool. We got the balloons up there. That was awesome. I was trying to catch up with them by foot, but the wind speed was way too fast for these guys. It's like a couple minutes later, they're across the runway and off towards the other runway. But this is an absolute beautiful time to do it, just as the sun's coming up. Wonderful. Just wunderbar. Of course, we couldn't do a air show without having all the military trucks here. Got the H1, I believe, H1. And we have this military style roadster rat rod type thing going on. Pretty cool. Pretty sweet. Yeah. I know the people in Kingman would have loved something like this. Would have loved to see something like that. It's like a supply truck that's been lowered. Of course, we have either space or Air Force vehicles over here. Not sure what these early jets are called, but they look quite sleek, quite cool looking. Of course, the weather plane is there. And it's interesting that they have the radar disc or whatever that thing is called on the bottom rather than the top. Maybe that saves on fuel better. Oh man, is this a... What kind of plane is that? Maybe you guys can help me in the comments. Maybe you guys can help me in the comments there. You'll probably notice a lot of these planes from the World War II era. And a lot of these are still flying, which is absolutely outstanding. Got a different view of the Beluga here, going over the left wing there. And look how huge these engines are. Probably about the size of a van that you'd see on the road. Huge. It kind of puts things in perspective when you see them up close. It's like, man, This is not a little guy. Not a little guy. Of course, we have this cannon right here with an airplane built around it. The Gatling gun on the front there. Insane. Many soldiers have been appreciative of that plane right there. Of course, we got the other side of this Marine helicopter, probably seen in MASH and shows like that. Cessna 337 with the pusher and puller prop. Quite an outstanding airplane right there with a simulated rocket pod on the wing, under the wing there. Interesting, they have the prop hub just out in the open with no spinner on the front. We have the NASA jets to the right there, and I think the Harrier jets are to the left. Is this a... not sure what this one is. When the wings are folded up, it kind of throws you for a loop. Like, what is that? Oh, we got a Corsair. Look at that beautiful airplane right there. It kind of has the, I want to say the dihedral action going on. Kind of has the curve down and up. Very interesting. I think this would have been a carrier plane back during World War II. Absolute beautiful paint job. That engine just hanging out. Prop just hanging out there. Wonderful. And of course, this is afternoon here, looking at the helicopters, very new planes. So for how old planes that they had there, they had some pretty new items there. Look, this, you don't even see this on in the air right now. Like, no one owns this. But soon in time, people will own a lot of these aircraft. The future is bright. Look at that. In this one, there is no control stick in some of these drones. So you just pre-program it and then you fly along. Of course, they had a career fair there, and this guy was actually in a incident that something happened with the airplane. Something wrong happened with the airplane, obviously, and he went down. It's a miracle that he's still here. But we got all these other airplanes. B-727 got a lot of simulator action, and a little bit here you'll see me trying a simulator which has a weight on it, and it's more of a weight lifting situation rather than a simulator. It has Ace Combat 7 on it, but you're supposed to tilt it like a motorcycle. And coming from a motorcycle, I didn't really get the motorcycle situation. We got all kinds of people just enjoying their time here. Kind of got some quick cuts here, but you can tell this young man is enjoying it. And back to the simulator. He said for the seat I had to tilt it, but it wasn't working at that. B-727. And here's the cockpit in there. Got the seating section, the conference room, and then the tail section where you jump out. I think Paris has a Boeing 727 that they jump out of. Got the Kodiak here, not to be confused with the Caravan. Kind of threw me for a loop there because it's very similar looking to me. Got the Christian missionary section here. Got this airplane, J3 Cub, I think. Look at that drone airplane. I've never seen any of those fly in real life, but getting so futuristic, almost like a helicopter. Got a load of cash you can save with some of these logbook systems. This young lady was gracious enough to let me inside of this bad boy. Kind of looks like a Tesla Cybertruck drone type situation. Pretty cool. Where's the seatbelt? I think it was a mock-up. Extra 300. We got the Pitts Model 12. A sleek, fast airplane. I'll tell you what, look at these guys, Air Force action maybe. Alright, here's another version of that amphibious plane that we saw in the beginning, parked next to the island there in the front of Sun and Fun. These guys had huge lenses that can go out, what is that, 600 feet? I'm not sure what the amplification is on this. That would have been nice for the air show. Here these guys were coming in style here. Pause. They were rolling in style there. And here we have the NASA jets putting on an absolute dynamic show. Just going straight for it. This is one of the planes that you get a ride for. I think it was $250 for like 15 minutes. It's an old open-air cockpit. Here we have the NASA planes going over his head. We got the Beech 360, not to be confused with the 350. Look at that business suite in the inside. Similar to the plane I was flying on the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, we have the Integral, kind of like a direct competitor to the Extra 300 aerobatic aircraft. Just absolutely outstanding. We got the Piper section here with the shades on this aircraft. Got the various sections here. Of course, we have the patriotic Chevrolet Corvette. Wonderful looking car there. And look at that prop right there. Got a 7-blade prop. Absolutely outstanding. Carbon fiber situation. Fury M700. Look at that suite right there. This is a plane that I used to fly here. A Beech C90. Pretty cool. And then we have the Redbird, which I've flown quite a bit. Look at this concept engine. Here's an Extra 300. That's a competitor to that French aircraft. Carbon fiber props. Wonderful paint job. Same type of company with this plane right here. Very nice, sleek, new aircraft. Look at that. Compass right there. Yeah, there's so many airplanes. This looks like the 162 Cessna. This is pretty much my whole career right here. With these Cessnas, we have the 172, 182, 206, 208. And they even had a what is it called? A Beechcraft right there. So yeah, pretty similar to what I was dealing with in my career. A lot of good memories, except these ones. These bad boys are absolutely new. Not to be confused with Kodiak. This is a Caravan. Look at that. Oh yeah, got the G1000s in there. Got the jet engine in there. Wonderful. Yeah, that's pretty much my whole career up to this point within a small area right here. It's kind of cool to reminisce and look at all the new technology. These guys, a lot of close airplanes going fast in formation here. This right here takes a lot of skill. They're all flying off of each other. And here we are at the beginning of the area. DC-3 right there. There's a P-51, F-22. Got the Beluga back there. A-10, Sun and Fun with the helicopters. So yeah. They had a lot of different places you could go and buy things. This young man was having an absolute blast right here. Yes, a lot of history in this section right here. I want to call this guy the Bee Man. He looks like he farms bees or something. Alright, here I am flying the simulator for one of these drones. And it was actually intuitive coming from flying drones. It kind of had a helicopter thing, so there's a collective on the left side. And with my right hand, I could tilt right and left, and I could twist my wrist to get some rudder action. I only hit one light pole, and I almost hit this tree over here because I'm flying sideways, which is probably not recommended. Whoa, there we go. So I landed it pretty much like a helicopter, nice and slow, and no one was injured in the process. Praise God. Here I am just saying that this is my career here, 172, 208. And the Beech 99 is on the other side, or C90 I should say. And the 182, 206, yep, they are there. They didn't have a 150, but maybe 160 will do. There's the Beech 360 right there. And the NASA planes just going over. Not sure what's going on. Oh, the Red Bull helicopter doing its version of the backflip, which is absolutely insane. I don't think there's too many helicopters that can do an intentional backflip right there. But that was pretty cool looking at. And apparently the smoke is not just for show, but it's a safety situation to tell other planes where it's at. Because without the smoke, it can be difficult to see it against that blue sky, right? B-25 is blocking the view of everyone here. How inconsiderate. Yeah, we had families and they had bleachers set up so people could view these airplanes. You got the F-22 doing its thing. Interestingly enough, I didn't see any F-35s, which would have been interesting to see, but they probably don't have any to spare since the war started, which is unfortunate. But here we have this guy doing his views. And this is probably the furthest view that you could see ever in the history of videos, because a lot of the other guys, like I said, have those super close lenses, those telephoto lenses where they can see the plane. They can almost see the expression on the pilot's face if he's not wearing his or her oxygen mask, right, or helmet. So if the pilot was helmetless, they could probably zoom in on the face, but I could definitely not get anything like that. And here we go with the low pass there. And mind you, this was absolutely noisy. These guys had a engine nacelle for, it looks like a jet, an early jet, with a compartment that people could sit inside. They have, I think, a speaker up there, some lights, a bubble maker, steering wheel, and they could drive around. Pretty cool, using this thing almost as a trailer. And it's like a Vibe mobile. Looks like an engine though. Pretty cool. You can see that thing spinning on the front, almost like a running engine. I'm not sure what you call this vehicle, but it's a Vibe. I tell you what, wish I could get close to them, but they were going absolutely faster than I could walk. You know, I'd have to run. I wasn't trying to do all of that right there. Here we have the V25 with the F22 doing what it does in the background there, going absolutely berserk, showing these people how it's done on this beautiful sunset evening right here. Fuel truck is just waiting right there for some reason. Oh yeah, I think this is a V25 that they use to do the rides in. So if you have 2,500 to 5,000, they might give you a ride if there is enough time and you've signed up ahead of time. It's amazing how aviation has very different avenues that if you have money, you could probably be without money pretty quick. Pretty fun, low pass knife edge that it did right there. It seems to have some sort of, maybe it's not vectoring. Maybe it is. Maybe it's power vectoring, and also the control surfaces that can go different directions, so it gives you those snappy turns and twists and all kinds of things like that. And here we have it just absolutely shredding above this crowd. I love how the jet kept its distance from a lot of the people. I know in times past there's been some issues with planes and people touching faster than they should, if you know what I mean. So this was actually absolutely respectful, keeping the distance on the line away from the crowd and doing this slow flight. That was kind of cool to see. But you don't get the full effect of the slow flight unless you compare it against these other planes that are sitting right there. Instead of ripping across, it's kind of just relaxing up there, just chilling. This is one of my favorite things to do in an airplane. Just sit there and just go as slow as the plane will keep on flying. Pretty cool. Good skill to have right there. Alright, here we have people walking past as the F-22 is still absolutely shredding. I'm sure these are like 20-year-olds just having the best time, living the best life out here. It's pretty cool to see the live show as opposed to seeing the show from outside the gate, from practice sessions. These pilots did absolutely wonderful. You see the beluga in the background. See the B-25 just blocking the view still. How inconsiderate. And then the F-22 doing those lovely maneuvers right there. Oh yeah. That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful right there. During this, you can imagine I had my earplugs because this absolutely ear-splitting sound that was occurring right here. Although when the engines were turned away, it wasn't as bad, but you best believe when he did the knife edge and shredded like right around here, it was like ear-splitting like that. That's loud right there. It's like a sound cannon. Look at the guy covering his ears. Absolutely hilarious. I wish you could somehow get the video of the shockwave, or not the shockwave, but the sound wave from the jet just hitting the crowd and people putting their hands up. I will say a lot of people did not have their ear covering. It seemed like they were doing it raw. Doing it raw out there. Of course, we have all the law enforcement and staff standing by, keeping it all safe with the NASA plane. The NASA plane flying on by. Look at them and their precision and accuracy. That's cool. Not sure why we're turning off the shot here, but here we have the split right there. People with larger cameras and smaller cameras catching all the action here. Got these smokes so you can see these guys doing these maneuvers right here. Pretty cool. A lot of these guys were very daring. Lots of smoke over these old warbirds, making for a wonderful, picturesque, magnifique view right here. unfortunately, I did not see a B-17 here. I guess those things are probably rare these days. What's unfortunate is back in the day at various airports in the United States, they had so many of these warbirds that were just smelted and melted for no good reason. It's like, I guess the war is over here. We don't have any need for these airplanes, so let's just melt them down and use the metal for something else. So here we have the various new airplanes, the Vibes from Sun and Fun, the very expensive and costly warbirds, rare warbirds in some cases. And here at night we had the entertainment of the DJ Moonchild. We also had the food trucks and the drone show. Now this drone show, oh, there we go. That's one that you don't see every day. Them doing knife edge and flying towards each other. These guys appear to be flying warbirds, and I love how they had the lights inside of the radial engine nacelle. They're doing the heart, and this is very, very precise type of flying, because if they're off by 20 feet, it's not a good day to be there. I love the effect of the smoke playing off the airplanes and the light playing off the smoke. Quite a cool view right there. You could see as night fell, the crowd seemed to thin out a little bit, but do not fear, when night was there, people still were accumulating for the night show. Here we have one of those NASA style planes there. I'm not sure where that blinking light is coming from. Oh, the police cars behind. Yeah. And here we have kind of like a highlight from the day, showing you a highlight of some of the cool airplanes that we're seeing. Seems like we've seen this before, huh? Now it's more high contrast here, more in-depth color. Beautiful. And then we have the night show, the food trucks, the DJ set there, all kinds of things. This was like the most expensive Red Bull commercial ever. They have a bunch of drones, and each of those flames are a person doing some wingsuiting with that other one. I think there were 2 or 3 skydivers in an airplane, got lasers, got explosions even. For some reason, some person thought this was a good idea to put drones, lasers, skydivers, airplanes, and fireworks in the same area. With the drones, with the skydivers, with the airplanes, and the lasers. Here we have the C-47 in the front. We got the P-51 wrapped up for the night. But these guys are going absolute ham with the music and the pyro techniques and the pyro. Yes, indeed. I'm curious how much this show costs, because at Sun and Fun, they seem to do this show every single night. It may not have been the same show, but I'm pretty sure they had the same amount of explosions, fireworks, drones, skydivers, airplanes, and the lasers. And when they were exploding these flame balls, the grass seemed to be on fire or catching on fire. I was like, man, this airport is getting that treatment. It's like a war zone here. I saw a view from the airplane that flew this event as a part of the show, and it was pretty cool seeing fireworks going off while they were flying. It's just a cool view. And then I wonder what the lasers would have looked like shooting through the smoke and those explosions going off as they're flying. That would be an interesting view to see. Of course, they had various songs, and they tried to sync up the explosions with the music that was going on. But with the distance, it doesn't always work out like that. The distance, the light, and the sound, not quite working out with that. But the drones were pretty cool. Here we have a Huey Hog made with the drones there. Seems to be hovering. And then I think it's going to pop, and you'll see some explosions here. Maybe if we're lucky. Oh, there we go. You see the gunship? You see the gunship in the front, and then the explosion. Pretty cool. I guess later in the week they had some planes fly over, and then they had the explosions, which would have been cool, but the drone helicopter shooting is cool as well. And then we have the synchronized drones and laser lights to go with the music there. I'm pretty sure the music that was during the set are very popular songs that are copyrighted. So you're going to have to listen to me talking now. Oh, and here we have what appears to be a drone F-16. We saw some F-16s parked on the ramp there, but it seems to be a drone. Drones, F-16s. What's a plural of drone? Drones, F-16 drones, right there. I love these kind of streamers there. And here's my face. So I was trying to get some reflection off my glasses, which did not work out pretty well. And here we have a compilation of, you can probably imagine what song this is. Sweet Caroline, which is a wonderful song for many of the people that went to this event. They loved it, and they tried to explode the explosions at about the time where the song does the 3-part beat. And here we have is this the encore? Oh, yeah, the crescendo of the song. So good. Yes. I think in one of these I got some slow motion of the flame, because the flames, they only last for maybe 3 seconds at the most. We have the Sun in Fun logo. Is that Sun and Fun? Is it Sun in the Fun? Not sure. Here we have the airplane that appears to be flying with pyro on the wings and shooting fireworks. The F-22 plan view there. And a lot of these fireworks looking like flares and stuff. And of course we had the kaboom. That was beautiful to see. I wish I could have gotten that in slow-mo. But we live and we learn. Oh, I think we have some slow-mo over here. I love seeing this in slow-mo. It just gives it so much more weight to it, doesn't it? It's just like, this is a war zone right here. And of course, in America, we're celebrating 250 years. 250 years, absolutely outstanding. So this year will be one for the books. A lot of fireworks, a lot of good vibes, good times, lasers, and things like that. Wow, that thing just won't go out, will it? That just won't go out right there, will it? And then this is the slow motion part. I just love the flame just sticking out there for a long time. You know, it's just, yeah, that laser can stop, but that flame, absolutely outstanding. And at one point, I did even see a young man. I assume he was young because I don't think any old people would be standing that close to a flame. But in the video, I was like, wait a minute, is that a man standing out there right next to a flame as it's going off, as it's cooking? I don't know if that's the guy with the remote control controlling the fire or what. I was like, man, that is way too close. You saw people back in the crowd about 200 feet flinching when the fireball went off. But the guy that was right next to the fire, he didn't seem to be flinching at all. He was like, yeah, I'm here for it. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the guy, like, pretty much straight ahead. Right over this guy's head right there, kind of like that dark figure. I'm like, what is going on? That's crazy. Don't get burnt out there, you know? Yeah, you can kind of see him out there right now. But absolutely insane work there to be standing right next to Fireball. Get some flame on your shoulder or something. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Cool in all kinds of ways. I was like, man, I should have brought my jacket to this place. And here we have the police just checking out. I will say, this place seemed to be super secure. Not only did you have the police there, but you had the firemen, the EMS standing by. You had the various security staff. And you also had this lady with this guitar. She seemed to love to sing. Love to sing, yes indeed. And of course you had the crowd that were just eating it up. checking out the surroundings. And here we have where I left my jacket underneath. Well, that doesn't matter. Thanks for joining us today.